from the epistle we have the words, "How shall we escape if we neglect this great salvation?" There is no other escape than through the grace of God. But we neglect the grace of God. At our baptism we are made clean, we are made new. At our chrismation we receive the Holy Spirit. And yet we spend all our time neglecting what has been given to us. We neglect it not only for ourselves, but we neglect it also for those around us. Think of the 4 men who carried the paralytic to Jesus. Could it possibly be that we might be one of those 4 men who could carry a man or a woman paralyzed by sin into the presence of God? How do we do it? We focus on that person who we want God to bless, and we pray for them. Not great long flowery prayers, not an enormous amount of effort, but we simply, as we make our prayer to God, we mention that person's name. It's like picking them up on their pallet and putting them into the presence of God. It's much easier than climbing onto a roof and removing the roof and lowering somebody down on a pallet. It's much easier, and yet we neglect it. St. Gregory of Palamas, whose feast we keep today, is the second Sunday of Great Lent, was concerned to say that we should have God inside us. He was a great bishop of Thessaloniki who taught that we should reach out and draw God into ourselves, so that by doing that we should ourselves become like God. The light of God should be in us, so that it can shine through us to the whole world. Everybody with whom we come into contact should be able to see in us the light of Christ, to see in us the love of God. And we should be able in that way, not with words, but how we are, how we approach them, how we lift them up and bring them into the presence of God with our prayers. When the priest makes the great entrance, carrying what is only bread and wine at that point, ready for them to be offered on the altar and become the body and blood of Christ, many of you have taken to almost knocking me over in order to touch the air or the pheromone. What are you doing? Do you know what you're doing when you do that? Or is it just something you've seen everybody else do? You are bringing the person in your heart to God. As the priest walks through, you are asking God to bless that person who you are holding up before God in your heart, as well as you, of course, as well as you yourself. So many times during the liturgy we say the words, "Let us commend ourselves and each other to God. Don't neglect to bring people with you to God. You may not be able to bring them physically, but you can bring them in your heart and you can offer them in prayer to God. So many of you say to me, my husband won't come, my children won't come, my wife won't come, my brothers and sisters won't come. Bring them. You should have brought them in your heart, so that you mention them by name in your prayers as the liturgy goes on. We're used to the liturgy. We know what's happening next. Only the priest and the choir and the servers have to really pay attention in order to get it right. You can spend all of that time praying for those who you brought with you in your heart, as you pray for yourselves. Otherwise, we're neglecting that great salvation which has been given to us, so that we can pass it on to others. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.